What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. And today I am here to look ahead to the latest One Championship offering, and that is their 5th show on Amazon Prime. And I'll be honest, it's a pretty good show. Lots of very interesting MMA fights on this one, going on over in the Philippines, in the Mall of Asia arena. Which I know is a big arena over there. Funnily enough, my brother was actually out at a UFC event there once, and he always raves about the place. So it's a very, very nice arena, and there's some very nice fights for the Filipino crowd to enjoy as well. So back again with a double header. We'll have a preview for the Amazon offering here, and then for the other card as well, we'll have another video on that. So please check that out on the Sherdog YouTube and on Sherdog.com as well. I think it's a very interesting time because if you look at the main event, it is for One Championship's light heavyweight title, and as I record this, it's only kind of just happened in the last couple of days, I suppose, with the light heavyweight picture in other organizations really to the fore. So we had obviously Nimkov beating Corey Anderson over in Bellator with a very, very good display. Then we had the title fight get torn up in the UFC. Not only did we lose the champion to injury, he lost his belt, and the challenger didn't take the opportunity to have a shot at the title because, for fair reasons, he wanted to prepare more for a different sort of opponent and all that, absolutely, for Glover Teixeira. And we've 2 new challengers coming in there now. So there's a big argument at the moment. Who is the best light heavyweight in the world? Now, obviously, we know One Championship with the weight cutting and all, and we know Reineer moving up and down the divisions. Is he a light heavyweight, a standout light heavyweight? Look, he's fighting for their light heavyweight belt in this weekend's offering, and I think if you look at him and look at his strength of schedule and look at the record, I suppose, and look at how dominant he is, without there being a real big standout name there, I think, you have to put him up there maybe. Now, with, being down a middleweight, sometimes fighting welterweights and things like that, obviously it's you wouldn't call him the best in the world. I don't think anyone would rank him right up there. But let's say if he goes into this division now with a few more wins, a few more title defenses, whatever it might be, and dominates that, I think he's in the conversation, and probably should be in the conversation if we're being honest here, because of that non-standout, I suppose, in the in the world at the moment in light heavyweight mixed martial arts, with John Jones gone, with Cormier gone. But Gustafsson could have been one that people were talking about a lot. Then, Yuri obviously came out, and then, he's lost it again now. Nimkov has been very, very good as well. So it's interesting times, I think, for the light heavyweight division, and interesting time. Do you know what's interesting time in the world of mixed martial arts as well? Because I don't think, I'm not saying he's the best light heavyweight in the world, but Nimkov might be, right? And maybe with another few fights or something else, and if he stays in the light heavyweight division, maybe Reineer the Reader will be. But the fact that that conversation can even happen these days, I actually think it's a really good sign for MMA. And the fact that the UFC isn't the only show on down, I think is probably a really good sign for MMA as well. We have, obviously the PFL finales and big Cage Warriors cards and Rizin and Bellator and all that. So it's a great time for, I suppose, non-UFC MMA. The Chasing Pack is a famous podcast is called over in Severe MMA. So let's get into the card anyway and stop my nonsense and my talk, and let's talk about the fight for Reineer the Reader. He's taking on Anatoliy Malykhin, and it's do you know what? It's an interesting fight, I suppose. Let me run you through both of them before. If you've never watched the Reader, maybe you're just tuning in for him. He's a wrestler, absolutely a wrestler. Very little setup, but he's very, very fast, and he's even fast against welterweights fighting a middleweight, and for him to be fighting at light heavyweight / kind of heavyweight in One Championship, I think he's even going to be faster and faster and faster, and guys really can't stop that. There's a real problem with his pace, and you look at him and you look at the way he fights and you're probably thinking, what are you talking about, pace? I don't mean he's not Demetrius Johnson, or he's not, some fast striking, he's not a Pereira or Adesanya or anything like that. But what he is really fast at is just breaking that distance, and he's fast to wrestle. And when I say fast to wrestle, I don't mean to just go straight across and takes you down, which he does, but he's breaking of that distance, as I said again, and his ability to actually get the right position at the right time really quickly is fantastic. And to me, that's what makes him special. That's why he is a special fighter. Now, if you watch his last fight against Big Dash, he nearly got caught in a guillotine, but then he ended up sleeping with a triangle. So he not only has the ability to take the fight to the ground, he also has the ability to finish it if it gets there, whether he's on top, whether he's on bottom, or anything like that. Now, one thing that really stands out to me about the Ritter is the space he gives people when on the ground, yet he still is able to control really, really well, which is something, and we'll talk about it further on this card and on the other card as well, on the other preview, that is actually very rare in mixed martial arts these days. If you think about, say, the great wrestlers of the last while, you look at Khabib as the standout one. He was a very, very controlling wrestler. Whether, we always talk about that, the quarter mount that he used to have. Remember, was it the second round against McGregor? He had it for almost the full round. Very, very controlling position. He loved the half guard, rarely tried to pass, and if it did, it was into mount where he could, control again. Love that position because there was so much control. If you think about it, we rarely see these as side control. We rarely see guys, moving from this position to this position to this position in mixed martial arts, because the ability of their opponents to move once given space is now very, very high, right? But the Ritter seems to still have that ability. And I have it written here in my notes as well. He's a very good side control, and you can only have a very good side control if you have that ability to dominate the positions on the ground while still giving your opponent space. To me, that's a very, very special, unique talent these days. Like before, if I go say back in, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman's day, it was a little bit different. I think you could do that. You could afford to give lads space. Even Tito Ortiz's day maybe, or something like that. You could afford to give lads space. Now, maybe that's because knees are legal on the ground in one championship. Maybe that's a part of it. But I don't necessarily think that is the biggest part of it. And he's just really, really good at it. And I think it's definitely something that stands out in his game, and definitely something that you need to watch out for him if you are fighting him. The other part of it, then, his nasty elbows and just his nastiness in general on the ground. Like, he puts you on the ground and he pushes his elbow into your face. He just makes it rotten on you. He makes it really, really bad on you. He'll cut you open, just makes it a bad, unbelievable cardio as well. Even I was watching one of his fights, and they're saying the commentary that one of his opponents was saying, he's bad cardio and they're going to be able to push the pace with him and everything like that. To me, that's not something that, if you fight 5 rounds or whatever, you're going to be tired, but it's not something I think is a massive issue in his game, if I'm being honest at all. So, doesn't have the best striking in the world. Apparently he's been working on it a lot, over in Holland and things, but his knees in the clinch are very good, very good. His knees in the ground obviously are very, very good as well. And just like that wrestling, that ability to control on the ground is second to none. Then Malykhin on the other side, he's a pressure striker. Very good overhand right, very good jab, and his backhand is really, really fast after it. He's a lovely hook to the body, and that overhand again, the combination is very good after that as well. The one advantage I suppose he would have here over the Ritter, who's big and tall, is Malykhin is used to finding the bigger men. He's not the tallest guy in the world. He's a very, very good offensive wrestler as well. He's fast and catches the legs and has big power everywhere. So it's definitely not an easy matchup, I don't think, for the Ritter this time. 16-0 the Ritter against 11-0 Malykhin. And the level of opponent that Malykhin has been fighting as well has been very, very good. Up at heavyweight, at light heavyweight for the interim championship, beating Kirill Grushenko. He beat Amir Ali Akbar before that, who's fighting this weekend as well. He's beaten Jake Kuhn back in the day. He's some very, very good wins on his ledger, and I think he's actually a very, very good fighter. So all in all in this one, you know, I picked the Ritter to win based on that wrestling, and you always kind of have to pick the Ritter to win based on wrestling, I suppose, unless he's fighting, you know, who would it be? Let's think about it. A light heavyweight, which wrestler is actually going to like out wrestle him, or which fighter is going to stop his wrestling kind of taking over? It's actually, I think it's rather hard to think of someone. If you look at, say, Nimkov in Bellator, okay, he did it the last time, but he wasn't able to do it the first time against Corey Anderson. If you think about it that way, like Yuri is injured now, but like, is he the best takedown defense in the world? I don't think so. Glover's a very good offensive wrestler. Can he get taken down? Maybe Ankalaev. I think him versus Ankalaev would be a fun fight, or versus you know, whoever else is around there. You know, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. You know, horses for courses, I suppose. But I think this will be Cheltenham for Reineer on Friday night or Saturday night, whatever this is. Friday night, is it? And I do think he will win the fight, but it's not without it's not without a task here. I think Malykhin, like this, I talk about the Ritter's speed to get inside. Malykhin has the same sort of speed to land that right hand. It's an excess, not an excess set of a right hand. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like an old school, maybe Ryan Nelson right hand. You know, when Ryan Nelson's right hand was like constantly landing, it is that big swooping right hand that comes in, and it has to be swooping because he's a little bit smaller. Let me just check his sides here if they're up. So we have 6 foot for him, and I would guess let me guess the Ritter side. I'm going to guess 6'5". He's maybe not that tall, 6'4". Yeah, so there is that big difference, and that's usually how Malykhin fights because he's up at heavyweight and he has to throw that kind of it's a lintoned right hand, I would say, a lintoned overhand right, and it's one that you would think wouldn't land with the power it should, but it does. It's a very, very hard shot, a very, very good shot, and it will give Malykhin a fighting chance in this. I wonder as well, could he put on some offensive wrestling against the Ritter? And if he does, it's going to be a tough night for the Ritter. It really is. If the Ritter gets taken down, if he can't take Malykhin down, and if Malykhin can land that right hand, absolutely, Malykhin has the ability to make this a tough night for the Ritter, but I think it will come down to the wrestling of the Ritter. It will come down to the wrestling of the Ritter either way. If he isn't able to wrestle, I think Malykhin will be the favourite there, and if he is, Malykhin will not have a nice night because the Ritter will be able to take him down and win there. So very, very interesting fight there. Very, very interested to see how neither of these lads know how to lose yet as well. You know, as I said, 16-0 versus 11-0. When that happens, it's always fun to see, you know, how one person reacts mentally as compared to another one. You know, we've seen it recently with Israel Adesanya, I suppose, losing once, and maybe the mental struggles were an issue for him, but then he came back, but then to a guy he's already lost in kickboxing again, it was an issue again. So I wonder, you know, someone gets put in the back foot here, someone isn't winning the fight in the way they normally win, how will they react? So it'll be interesting to see that. Okay, let's move on and talk about a couple of the other fights. I'm going to talk obviously mainly about the MMA fights here, but I'll tell you what else is coming up as well. There's a one featherweight kickboxing fight coming up between Superbon Sigma Mayan against Chinzing Alzav. Cade Riatolo is back grappling on this for the lightweight strap. I've really enjoyed his grappling endeavour. The last time he was on it, he was very, very good. He's taken on Mateus Gabriel, so that should be interesting there. And as well, Helen Rodriguez is taking on Janet Todd in the one atomweight Muay Thai World Championship unification bout as well. So, you know, honestly, as someone who doesn't know a massive amount about Muay Thai and kickboxing and all of that, I've enjoyed it watching these one championship fights over the last while. And you know, most of these bouts are delivering. They really, really are, and you know, I can't ask for more than that. So looking forward to these as well. Now, I'll be covering these one championship cards for a good few months, and this next fight is the fight I'm most looking forward to out of any of those fights that have taken place in the last few months, and that's because my guy Roberto Soldic is debuting over in one championship. And if you don't know Roberto Soldic, you probably should know him. 20 wins and 3 losses. KSW multi-weight champion, has beaten Mehmed Khalidov, has beaten Patrick Silinik, has beaten Mikel Materla, has beaten Dricus du Plessis, who we see climbing the ranks in the UFC at the moment, beaten Lewis Long, the Cage Warriors, and Bellator veteran as well. Fought Yaroslav Amosov in his 5th fight, the champion over in Bellator at the moment. Now, he did lose that fight, but that was 6 years ago, so a lot of water has passed under a lot of bridges since then, and since then he has turned into one of the most devastatingly brilliant fighters in the world. If you haven't been watching Roberto Soldic, you probably should have been. 8-1 in KSW in the last 4 years. The only fight he lost was to Dricus du Plessis. He knocked him out in the rematch of that 6 months after that fight had happened. Beating Boris Manikowski as well. The names of the people who he has beaten in that side of the world have just been absolutely phenomenal, and he comes in here to me as the number 1 signing in the world this year. I was actually talking to a representative from a big promotion yesterday, and they were saying, like, the only we're happy with where we're going. We're kind of sad we missed out on Roberto Soldic, and I think that is a thing that everyone will be feeling. I think the UFC didn't want to miss out on Soldic. I think Bellator didn't want to miss out on Soldic. With the way that PFL are coming into Europe at the moment, I'm sure they would love to have Soldic. But fair play to One Championship. They got the deal done. They did the job. And they have, in my opinion, one of the best prospects, one of the most interesting fighters in the world right now. And I can't wait to see him fight. If you haven't seen him fight before, he's just an extremely well-rounded fighter. He is strong. He is technical. He's tactical, brave. He has it all. Good chin, power, technique. He's a southpaw. And he is a massive left hook. I know some people give out to me when I say southpaws throw a left hook, but I think when you're hooking the hand, it's not like a straight left hand when you're throwing from southpaw. So, look, McGregor against Aldo, that to me is a left hook. And I know a left hook is like fighting off your front hand and throwing the hook instead of the jab. I know it absolutely is, but to me, that's a big left hook as well. Anyway, I'm gonna continue to call him a left hook. If I'm wrong, maybe I am wrong. But anyway, he throws big left hooks. He kicks to the body. To me, he's the best body kicker in the world in MMA. Maybe with Overeem on the way out now, or over in kickboxing, and now again aside from MMA, I think he's the best. I really, really do. He's absolutely brilliant. The speed at which he strikes, he can wrestle, very, very, very athletic, and I'll say that word speed again. He's so fast. Now, the one drawback I would have for Soldic, he's fighting in the welterweight division of One Championship at the moment, which is 185, which is kind of middleweight, which is probably the right place for him at the moment. Soldic was a welterweight in KSW, a genuine 170. He fought a couple of bouts at catch weights, like I think he fought once 176 and things like that. Went up, he fought Materla at 185. He fought Kilinik back down at 170, and then he fought at 185 against Khalidov again. So he's been going up and down weights. There was talks of him fighting out at 205 as well. I don't think he had a fight at 205, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to look here. I don't think he did, but there was talks of it, and he was talking about going for that third belt in the third division. And I think if he'd stayed in KSW, he probably would have ended up having that. So I think he maybe blew up, or was on the way to blowing up too much. And I think the fact that that's kind of stopped now, and that he can fight that division, maybe if he's even coming down even further to fight at another division, it'll be interesting. But I think he's at the right division in the right place now at the moment, and hopefully he sticks there. But that is the one issue I would say, like the weight, the size. Is he at the right weight? Is he at the right size for himself at the moment? Because that was my one worry for him when he was in KSW. It's like this moving up and down weight classes, and this talk about going up an even further weight class. Now, he didn't start, maybe he did start that, but that didn't come to fruition. Is the one issue I'd have for everything else. I think he's a brilliant fighter. Now, his opponent, Murad Ramazanov, he's pretty good too, 11-0. You can't say anything bad about his resume. Went back and watched a good few of his fights, and he's a very, very, very good fighter. He beat the two-time champion Kadistan, the last time out, Sebastian Kadistan, the last time out. He's a very patient fighter, I would say. All about wrestling, just wants to get a hold of you. Fast, short jab, good left hook, powerful right hand. Will it hurt Soldic? I wouldn't probably think so. Powerful-ish right hand. I wouldn't like to take it, but I think Roberto Soldic will be fine. But extremely strong in the clinch. Picks up lads and slams them down all the time. He's almost the guy that doesn't wrestle people. He just picks them up. He's like a JCB or something. Pick you up and put you back down. Very good control on the ground. Loves half guard. Not the best ground and pound artist as well either. He's all about position, which is the exact opposite, I think, to the Ritter above. Now, maybe not the exact opposite. The Ritter likes a little bit of ground and pound as does Ramazanov, but I think the Ritter will move and he will be funky kind of with his grappling, whereas Ramazanov will be very, very forthright in holding that position, keeping in the position. Now, this is an easy fight to break down, I suppose. Ramazanov needs to get the fight to the ground. As I said, that right hand is powerful-ish. He's a good hook. He's a good jab. And anyone can knock anyone out in mixed martial arts. If they fall on the feet in an MMA fight for 15 minutes 100 times, I'd say Soldic should win 99 of them. I would say there's that much of a difference there. I think he is vastly superior to Ramazanov on the feet. On the floor, if Ramazanov can take you down and hold you down, he's going to win that fight, and he can do that. 11-0. He's done it many, 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 many times. Can he do it again to Roberto Soldic? That's the question. It's a very, very interesting question. I'd be foolish to come in here and say absolutely Ramazanov has no chance. Soldic is the guy and he's not going to get beaten. But sure, people probably said that about Dimitri Johnson. People probably said that about Eddie Alvarez as well. And look what happened to them. Them lads ended up getting beaten. So Soldic can lose this fight. This is a very, very, very good fight. Now, who am I picking to win? I'm definitely picking Roberto Soldic. I think he will be able to stop the takedown. I think he will keep the fight in the feet, and I think he'll absolutely destroy Ramazanov in the feet. I think he'll get the knockout, and I think it'll be 11-1 for Ramazanov, but a very, very interesting fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Speaking of Eddie Alvarez against Eduard Folayang, he's a guy who fights next on this card. A veteran, I suppose, at this stage. 38 years of age. Jesus, he doesn't seem that old, I suppose. But am I gone mad? Is it Eddie? It is Eddie. Oh no, Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez beat Folayang. And who was it that beat Eddie Alvarez? I'm gone mad here. It was Natyukin. I'm gone mad. Never mind. Don't listen to me. But Folayang, anyway, very, very good fighter. Big power. Big leg kicks. Do you know what? He almost throws the leg kicks to keep active on the outside because he likes to land that power. And he doesn't throw loads, but when it does, it hurts. When he throws in those shots, they come very, very quick. Throws a spinning elbow, throws a wheel kick, step inside kick is probably his shot that he throws the most, apart from those inside and outside leg kicks. Likes to keep the distance. He likes to stay on the outside, give you the opportunity to come in, and if you do, he'll strike then. Likes a takedown as well, has a takedown, and I think this is the sort of fight against Edson Marques where he will be going for that takedown. Marques, very tall. He's I'd written down in my notes he's a good jab, but then watching a little bit more of him, he feels like he's one of these guys where he almost fights shorter the way he jabs. And if you watch one of his fights, you'll see exactly what I mean. It's almost like he's jabbing you as if you're 2 steps ahead of him, when he should be jabbing you to keep you 2 steps away from him, which is like we see now with tall guys all the time. Stefan Struve was one of the worst guys of all time at keeping the distance, even though he was 7 foot tall. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you can actually fight that way well, even though you have those physical advantages. And I don't think Marques is particularly great at it. He fights out of the karate stance, constantly dancing forward and back a few steps. And when I say it, it's like, we remember all, the Lyoto Machida McGregor thing, but he's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's really very odd. It's a very, very odd way he fights. And again, it's another thing that actually takes away his size advantage, which is odd. throws lots of feints, nice leg kicks off both feet, but he is there to be taken down because of that as well. Giving up that size advantage allows you to be taken down. Doesn't look great on the ground. To me, he doesn't throw that right hand enough either, and he's going to need to throw it against Folayang. I'm going to pick Edward Folayang to win this fight, honestly. I think he will go for a takedown here if he's smart. I think him fighting on the outside, it could benefit Marques in a way, because it'll try. I think, when I say Marques should be keeping a guy 2 steps outside rather than allowing him 2 steps inside, Folayang will actually naturally fight 2 steps outside, and Marques will have to reach for him, and I think that'll benefit him because he is so tall. So maybe it's a good matchup like that for Marques. But the second Folayang comes in, Marques is going to give that up, and I think he'll give up the takedown as well. Now, if Folayang just strikes with him for the whole fight, I think it could be an issue, and I could definitely see Marques win there. Probably, in fact, would see Marques winning there. But I think if Folayang can go inside, get the takedown, he's probably not known as a big takedown artist. But I watched a couple of his fights, and I watched a lot of his fights down through the years, even though I mixed him up. And he has a takedown, and he can take people down. And the way, if you look at Marques on the ground in any of his fights, not great there. So I think he can win that fight, and I think he will win that fight. A couple more. We have a lightweight fight between Daesung Park and Lown Tynanes, who has the greatest nickname ever, Tyrannosaurus Rex. What a nickname. Absolutely brilliant. But Park will start first with, he's a southpaw, karate stance again, big head kicks and body kicks, has a high guard, feints a lot, has good speed, throws these taekwondo leaping double kicks, and watching a few of his fights, I think I kind of immediately became a fan. To be honest, I like his style, but it's nearly all kicks. Rarely, when he does throw the left paw, he really, really sits down with it. And you even see the way he fights. He kind of sits down all the time. The way he fights, he can be drawn into a fight, and that's when you see his hands coming out. Does get him taken down a lot though. Strong ground and pound when he gets on top. The issue is, though, he needs to get on top. And if he doesn't, it's massive. And especially massive in this fight because Tyrannosaurus Rex is a wrestler. And he's nothing but a wrestler almost. He immediately goes for the takedown. I think I was listening to watching one of his last fights, and on the commentary they talked about an autoimmune disease. They made him kind of change up his style of movement on the outside, and he's definitely fought differently in these last couple of fights. He hasn't fought much over the last few years because of that, but the pandemic as well, obviously. But he has started to move a lot more on the feet. Lost his last fight. It was his first loss. And that's a big thing, coming back from that mentally to see how it looks. His striking isn't great. Strong in the clinch, strong on the ground, lovely elbows on the ground, very, very good at moving into taking the back, very, very strong on the ground, looks like an athlete. You look at Tynanes and you can't help but know he's an athlete. He looks like an athlete. He's strong and lean, and he looks like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. He's one of them bodies. So yeah. Do you know what? I think Park is a better all-round fighter, but I just think his takedown defense is an issue, and Tynanes' takedowns are too good. Overall, one championship do score fights differently, so maybe because of that we should be going with Park, but I just think that wrestling on Tynanes will be too much. Maybe he can get to the back, maybe he can get a rear naked choke as well, but it'll be interesting. The last two fights in, there is a Muay Thai women's strawweight fight between Amber Kitchen and Jackie Buntan. And then there is a women's atomweight fight about this time in MMA against Lynn Heqin, who we've talked about a few times in this show. She's fighting against Denice Zamboanga. Heqin, a very, very technical fighter is the one word I would describe for her. She's long, lovely, nice jab, nice low kicks. She stands in the pocket and counters, which is unusual, I suppose, for a taller fighter. She's very, very good takedown defense, and she even has a takedown of her own. Denice, on the other hand, then she's willing to throw. She's a lovely jab, vicious combinations, throws fast and hard, dips under for a takedown, very, very good in wild exchanges, looks for submissions if the fight goes to the ground. As I said, very, very good on the ground. She's just, she's very aggressive. This is an unusual thing to see in MMA. She's very aggressive herself, But she also fights well when someone's aggressive against her. You know, some people like to be the nail and some people like to be the hammer. The wood, the hammer. I don't know, one of them. You know what I mean? But she's good being both, you know? And that's, as I said, a very, very unusual thing. Sometimes she wrestles immediately. Sometimes she comes out and strikes. And, you know, that's a hard thing to game plan for. So if you're Heqin, look, if you're Denice in this fight, you know that Heqin is not going to come out with that mad aggression that a lot of her opponents come out with, because they don't want her mad aggression to start with. So she knows she can come out and be madly aggressive. Now, will she do that, or will she try a technical matchup with Heqin? I wouldn't advise that, because I think Heqin is very good there, but she is, you know, Zamboanga is very good and is very technical, and I've been very impressed with her. As I said, like Heqin as well. I'm going to go with Denice to win this, honestly, and I didn't think I would. I thought Heqin won her last fight as well. I didn't think it was the best decision in the world, but I'm going for Denice to win this one in what I think will be a very, very good 3-round technical fight, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, overall, a pretty good card there for the Amazon viewers over in the United States and Canada, and another good showing, another good card from One Championship. I'll leave it there. Let me know your picks in the comments below. Let me know who you're picking in the main event. Let me know if you think Malykhin has any chance against the Ritter, and if you're looking forward to the card as well. So I'll let you go. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.